Welcome to the Creative Chats Podcast with Mike Brennan. Well, welcome to another episode of Creative Chats. It's the podcast for artists, makers, and content creators where we talk about creativity, the creative process, and story. I'm your host, Mike Brennan. You can connect with me on my website, which is mikebrennan.me. And while you're there, I would love for you to check out all the resources that I have there just for you. I've created these resources with you in mind because I know the struggle as a creative person, the struggle to show up again and again consistently. I know the struggle for inspiration. I know the struggle for trying to figure out how to monetize your creativity. I know the struggles of just all the things. And so I have packaged up some resources to help you, to be an aid for you, because I want to see you showing up, creating. And I say this all the time, and I truly mean it. When you create, we all win. I want to see you win creatively. And I want to see you engaging with that part of yourself that longs and yearns to create things, because first and foremost, it makes you feel good. There's a joy and there's a purpose and there's just an amazing ability to use your art and creativity as a way to express and even understand yourself. And then also for you to be able to create things that speak to other people, to have a ripple effect. I think that's huge. And so any way that I can be a help in that, I would love to. You can also head to dailycreativehabit.com where you can find the Daily Creative Habit Journal. It's a 90-day experience that's self-guided. It helps you set intention, and it also helps you take action, because that's what I am all about, is inspiring, but then also encouraging to take action, because it's in the action taking that clarity comes and that you actually see things happen. So that's there, available to order, and as well as some other resources. There's a free Facebook group called Daily Creative Habit. Those are people showing up, sharing questions, sharing work in progress, sharing some creative life. And so if you're looking for a place to plug in and it to be a little bit kind of non-intrusive, that's a great introduction for you. And if you're looking for kind of the deeper end of the pool, I also have a paid membership called the Daily Creative Habit Membership. And that is a smaller group of people. We meet on Zoom once a month for a live call to talk about what is happening with you creatively. And then there's also some prompts that I give weekly that help you kind of stay on track and give you some ideas and suggestions. So again, all that stuff you can find at dailycreativehabit.com. Now, for today's episode, man, I get to sit down with just a beautiful soul. I think that's the appropriate way for me to describe her. Her name is Reanna Shay Holt, and she is just a multi-creative person. She talks about dance. She talks about music. She talks about the importance of art and healing, about journaling. I mean, our conversation today isn't so much centered on one specific expression of creativity, but really holistically, and how we can leverage what we do creatively to be a healing agent for ourselves, to help give us a place to work things out or understand or express, but then to move even beyond that, where what we do becomes an agent of change for other people, inviting people into something where there's a ripple effect. And so we talk about all those things and some more. And also, I want to let you know that at the end of this episode, Reanna has been really gracious in giving us some of her music to listen to. And so just really trying to let you access this in a way that is simple, that is easy. You're already listening to this podcast. Be sure to listen to the end for this amazing song. And I encourage you to go check out her Instagram and other places where she has mentioned, just to connect with her, to be a part of what's happening in her world. And I know that it'll be a blessing to you today. So without further ado, here is my creative chat with Reanna Shay Holt. Well, Reanna, welcome to the Creative Chats podcast. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to chat.
Yes, me too. Me too. I love when I get to speak with people who just have creativity coming out of themselves, like all over the place. Like there's so many outlets and so many places to just see how creativity has had an impact on their life. And I can't wait to get into conversation with you today about where that came from and what that looks like for you and all those things. But as we kind of have an introduction, especially for the audience today, when you're at a party or something and somebody's like, "Hey, who are you? What do you do?" Like, what's your usual go-to line of like, "Here's who I am, here's what I do."
It's so funny because I was at a party yesterday and it feels, first of all, thank you for having a creative space for creatives to chat because it can feel difficult to name that. You're
Yes.
like, what do, in those moments, you're like, what do I do? I love to lead with I am an artist. And then from there, just, however the conversation unfolds. It's like, I'm a dancer, a singer, songwriter, sound healer. It's hard to give that, I think,
Right.
all at once. So I think I'm an artist first, creative creator is really what I love to lead with. And then let it go intuitively from there.
Yes, yes. No, and I totally understand that. And there's also a part of us creatives that want to resist that because it feels like a label, it feels like a box. It's like, don't put me in the box. But there's also something about when you're talking to other people, they want to know, like, okay, how do I categorize you so that if I have a need and you can help me with that need, I know that you're the person to go to. And so I think there's just something in there that we have to find that happy medium to go, okay, here's what I do, here's what that looks like. And then, like you said, depending on what crowd you're with or who you're speaking with, there may be certain things that come to the foreground or background, depending. And that whole like figuring out, like, I have a bunch of different things and it doesn't neatly fit into this one word or this one category. That I think is a common thing that when you have someone who has multiple creative endeavors and passions, for us to deal with that. So, but I think you did a great job. So that was awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
So let's dial things back to like childhood. What was the first creative memory that you have? And what was it surrounded?
Yeah, I have so many creative memories surrounding old VHS recorder. I don't even know if that's what it's called. And little Rihanna singing and dancing and putting on outfits and forcing her parents to watch these performances in my mind. And my brother being the sidekick of being in the performances and in the shows. So very much movement, singing and performing was what little Rihanna's soul just immediately gravitated towards.
I love that. I love that. I could see that visual too in my mind. It's
Yeah.
funny because, everybody always accesses whatever technology is available to them, right? And so sometimes talking about that stuff, it sounds like it's like, oh, that's ancient, like, right? Like what? Because I remember having a cassette recorder and recording pieces off of TV shows and doing voices with them and do like all sorts of crazy stuff and recording things off the radio on a cassette tape. It was like, you know, people now that kids, I have two daughters and they would look at me and go like, what are you talking about? Like, I have no context. Or it's swung back the other way where it's like all of a sudden that stuff is in because it's like, oh, it's retro, it's
Yeah.
so that's funny. But I love that you have that memory and that sparked something in you to be like, yeah, this is telling you that you're a creative person. This is just an amazing launch pad, if you will, for you. And so how did that develop as you got older? Like what were your interests in and how did the opportunities come about? Like fill us in on a little bit of the story.
Yeah, so my parents seeing that I, was gravitating towards that, put me into dance because they knew I needed some creative outlet to express myself. I was a very energetic little girl, so they put me into dance at I. My mom always says, I was ready at 2, but we were like, let's wait a year, like give her a little bit more time to get some, movement going. So I started dance at 3 years old. And from there, it just took off. I started just recreation, ballet, tap, jazz. And then that led into starting competing at a very young age of like 6 or 7 and really following that path of dance and movement that led to opportunities I'm from Salt Lake City originally, so opportunities there, and then moving to LA for a profession. So dance is my first love and my first art, and I always say like my longest relationship in life.
Yeah.
But that's really what was the driving force into now, I believe, all of the art forms I have my hands in.
Yeah, yeah. Were were there natural segues for you as you figured out, oh, it's not just dance, but there are other avenues I want to explore? And like, was that something that you did consciously, was intuitive? Like, can you talk a little bit about how that happened for you?
It's interesting because looking back at little Rihanna, as I mentioned, she was always singing with the movement. She was always putting on different costumes. There was always more than just movement. With dance, it's a very, I mean, with a lot of careers, it's a very tunnel vision. It's, you have to be very focused, very dedicated to learning all of the skills and everything that you need to know to feel prepared. So as I look back now as an adult, there was always this undertone of, oh, but what if you learned how to play an instrument? And what if you really love singing, you really love music? Let's start to use your voice. When I think about being alone, so many of the times I just love to sing and move and envision myself on stages. And so there was always the subtle energy really pushing me towards, okay, maybe there's more. And then I feel 2020, as it all did, really shifted a lot of us. And it gave me the opportunity to have a breath from dance because a lot of the jobs were obviously being canceled or postponed or
Right.
whatnot. And that allowed me to lean into, okay, let's take some singing lessons. Let's pick up a guitar. Let's open this channel and perspective. And just like we open the conversation with it, it can be hard to be, we live in a world where it's like it can be focused on one thing. This has to be your one thing forever. But we are such vast human beings and we have
Yes.
so much talent and creativity, even if you don't label yourself an artist or creative. So it was really that subtlety my whole life. And then just choosing to say, okay, let's try it. And now that's full circle unfolded in so many beautiful ways that I'm very grateful that I leaned into that.
Yeah, yeah. Did you ever feel like a frustration when you had, like, say, okay, you've got dance on one side, you've got music on the other side, and if you're pouring into one, the other one is kind of crying out, going like, "Hey, what about me?" Or was it more of a, this just what feels right for this moment, and you were able to move in that and not feel the pressure of going, I have to keep all the plates spinning?
It's a balance. Some days I feel, yeah, that one of them's like, okay, hello. And then other times I feel that they're all just flowing very freely. I believe having these pockets of moments of pouring myself into one has helped the other flourish. It's that idea of like letting go of something for a second to just let it breathe, and then you come back to it feeling more inspired. You have different ideas. It's not so, beating something to make it like it's got to work. So there's seasons of feeling frustrated that I'm not able to pour myself into everything. And then there's seasons of feeling like I'm in a very healthy flow and that it's all working itself the way it needs to.
Yeah. And do you find that one art form informs and inspires the other art forms?
They all do. Oh, yeah. Especially as a dancer and a mover. Like, dance now that I've had time to, there was a lot of healing, I believe, that needed to be done around dance just because it was, what I chose to do from a very young age into teen, into like young adult. So there was a lot of going back and really fine tuning what dance meant for me. And when I was transitioning into, oh, I really want to pursue music and sound healing, there was a moment where I was like, okay, do I need to just completely get rid of dance? But now I've realized, oh no, dance and like movement is driving how I can properly use my voice better, how I can fully express myself. It's like, it feels like my superpower now because it's something that's so natural out of all the art forms because it's so embodied within my DNA. And I see how they all full circle each other and pour
Yeah.
into the other.
Yeah. And there are certain things that you can do or say in one form that you can't necessarily do in another. And so they become tools that you can say, here's what I'm feeling, here's what I want to express, here's what I want to communicate. What is the best avenue for me to be able to do that in? And you can probably take the same subject matter. I don't know if you've done this or not, but like the same idea of a concept and say, let me execute that in dance. Let me execute that in music. Let me execute that in, visual art, written word, whatever. And you could have a completely different experience, not only creating those things, but also for the person who's receiving those things, they can receive it in a different way. And so I love that when we have options, we can move into those things and then be a little bit more free and intuitive as we're expressing and saying, at the end of the day, hopefully somebody connects with this, but even if not, I know I've connected with myself in the process of this, right? I mean, do you have those moments where you're like, I hope that somebody gets something out of this, but this is for me?
Yeah. Yeah. I just heard something recently around art, and I forgot who, I know it was on a podcast, but she said so beautifully, it has to be the song that you would sing by yourself before it's shared with the world, like it really should be this internal, rather that be a song, an art piece, a dance. It has to be that you would share in a room that nobody's in before you share it in a room where everybody's in. And if one person feels it, if two people feel it, then that's success. If nobody feels it, then at least there's something that, you know, energetically came and hopefully helped you understand yourself more through the process.
Yes. Yeah, and I'm a big believer in journaling, and I think it's the same kind of thing where sometimes you need that space and place to figure stuff out, to process. And it's a tremendous tool to be able to do that. And if it's journaling, if it's whatever art form, I think it's important as creative people to have that space and then go, not everything is always driven by like a client or a paycheck or especially if you're doing this for a living. It can get really muddy fast where everything is always about everybody else and your creativity is leveraged for everybody else, but you come last in the process. And then I think when that happens, this low grade frustration comes about where you're like, I know I'm using my creativity, I know I'm doing all these things, but I feel like I'm not really getting to express or tap into the things that's deeper in me. And I need a place to do that. But yet I'm tired because all my creativity is going for everybody else. Right.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing.
It is, and recognizing those seasons. I feel like we get to certain places and then we have to peel back and say, okay, because if we're living from that place of, oh, I'm just making art and making all of this for other people, essentially, I believe we start to make the same art. It just looks a little bit different. We're not allowing breath and space to really feel like it's shifting and changing.
Yeah.
I'm a huge journal. That's why I lit up when you said
Yeah. I saw
I
that.
have been journaling since I was 16. I created my whole community based off of how impactful I believe journaling is, because it really helps us get out of our minds onto paper and see it and then give legs to whatever needs to move, and also let go of what is just maybe ruminating or holding us back from,
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
needs movement.
Yeah. And to get it out of here, out of our heads and onto a page so it's not so ethereal and slippery, because so many times then it just becomes something like I'm feeling some things, I'm thinking some things, but I don't really know. I don't have a good sense of self-awareness. And it's a great tool for that to go, let me check in with myself. Let me be able to get some perspective. Does that stuff also feed into your music? I would think it would, right? As far as like themes that you write about or sing about. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. My creative practice, I really always start by journaling and just free writing and just getting it out. And then, of course, you start to either add an instrument, I start to play my bowls, or I move my body, and something always develops from these ideas, because I truly feel that we live in our minds so much just as humans, and if we're able to declutter and get really clear with the channel, or whatever you want to call it, your source, we can again build art, create art that comes from a place that can be very unexplainable. Like sometimes it's like, I have no idea where that came from. And then you start to build on it and you're like, oh, okay, I'm starting to kind of figure out where that maybe came from. But it becomes that ethereal channel embodied in physical art that somebody
Yeah.
hopefully can feel, hear, resonate with.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I personally believe in God, and I know others may say the universe or whatever terminology they may use. But I heard someone talk about once this idea of co creating. And it's this sense of, yes, there is something outside of yourself, and you're being open to creating with, God, your higher power, whatever it is that you refer to. But this sense of, yes, there's a bigger work here. And if I'm going to tap into that, I need to co-create. It can't just simply come from just me alone, because I am limited. And yet what I believe in, and again, I believe in God, and I believe in God that he's unlimited. He is everywhere, knows things that I don't. And so why would I not want to partner with and co-create with? Because then it can bring things to a whole new level, and I can create something that had a specific meaning for me, but then someone else can hear it or see it or interact with it, and it can speak to them on a completely different level. And I think that's part of the mystery and beauty of art as well.
That's so beautifully said. Like we're always dancing with whatever that may be, God, the universe, energy. It's there's subtle nuances that are always happening in our own individual experience that if we're tuned in and aware, it's helping us. It's breadcrumbing us to the next idea, the next opportunity, the next piece of art. It's all around, and I think that's the beautiful creatives and artists for anybody, even if you don't label yourself an artist or creative, it's always happening, even if it's in the food you make or the clothes you choose to put on, it's always
Yeah.
guiding you.
And there's an opportunity, I think, to follow curiosity and to be open. And just sharing personally, like one of the things that I journal every day, just to keep my eyes open and my ears open, and to go into my day aware as opposed to just reacting all the time, because it's so easy just to react to everything around you. And I write out all the time. I'm like, I know that today I'm going to have connections and conversations. I may not know who with. Some of them I may know, right? Like, so I had this podcast scheduled with you. I knew we were going to have a conversation, but there are other conversations and interactions. Maybe they're even small, while I'm at a store someplace, and a quick little exchange that happens. But all of that stuff is the fabric of this day. I know those things are going to happen. And so knowing that something is going to happen, I want to be aware. I want to participate. And the same thing I say about opportunities. Like, I know that each day there will be a certain amount of opportunities that present themselves. They may not be the ones that I want. They may not be the ones that I'm hoping and looking for. And they may be, but I don't want to miss the small things, even the opportunity to maybe make somebody smile, or to have a meaningful conversation, or to do a certain work that I maybe have been not allowing the time for, that I know is a more important work. And I need to make sure I'm doing that work for myself and for others. And so I say all that just to reiterate, yes, journaling, and also that awareness and that co-creating, in that sense of, I want to participate. I want to show up and have agency over myself today, because then I can be the best version of myself. And I can know that I'm aligned and I have clarity, and I'm doing things on purpose and with intention.
And the power of the morning is so impactful, to have something, even if it's 5 minutes of just
Yes.
bringing that presence, asking, that, okay, allow me to be available, allow me to be aware, allow me to just like lead through. And some of the biggest moments are the smallest moments. Some of the
Exactly.
moments of like smiling at someone at the grocery store, or, it's reminding ourselves of that human connection, that we're all here experiencing such different versions of life, but we all are still here together, and that impacts and ripple effects into everything in our life.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to ask, you have art forms that are happening, and then we touched briefly on, now I want to circle back to this healing. And in terms of art being an agent of healing, even, where did that come from for you?
I truly believe I've always been using it as a healing form. When I think of dance and these moments where I felt so present and embodied and moving through whatever was in my physical body through movement, how healing that was, how releasing that was, even as a young girl, not being able to put words to it, but just knowing that when I moved my body and when I was connected fully, that at the end of it, I always felt better, regardless of what was moving through my life. Once I started to lean into music and really learn more about the conscious and the subconscious and our nervous system and how all of those are always working together. And then I started to add in sound healing and alchemy bowls and my voice. It's, just using our voices, humming, finding, sound, even if it's not because you're a singer or a musician, moving your body. I just saw a post about how they found movement is one of the biggest ways to combat depression, how that just like dancing and moving your body and getting energy moving can heal. It allows you to be open. It allows you to be present with stagnant energy, if that's anxiety, if that's overthinking, just like we're talking about writing. And when we allow ourselves to lean into those art forms, whatever they may be, even if in that moment we don't feel it's healing something, it is. Even if you're not like, I'm doing art for healing, it's an activity of expression. And I think people can feel so scared to express or be truthful. And art is a beautiful way to have it be something that's technically outside of yourself, but still your own, that you are processing your own emotions through.
Yeah. And it's hard sometimes for people to get past the critique, self-critique, right? The negative thoughts of, well, I'm like you said, I'm not a creative person. I'm not artistic. I mean, I have those conversations, I feel like once a day where I'm like, people say, oh, I'm not a creative person. I can't draw a stick figure. I can't, dance. I can't sing. I can't. And I'm like, that's being artistic. Don't confuse being artistic with creative, because I think we're all creative. We may not all have the same expressions, and thankfully we don't, because I think life would be pretty boring, right?
Yeah.
But it's realizing, what does your creativity look like? And maybe that's in terms of how you dress or make a meal or create a welcoming environment for somebody or organize things. I mean, there's countless ways that creativity can show up, and it's so much bigger than we often give it credit for. And when we take that and understand that and then use that also as like going, okay, now it can be something that can help bring some healing, because I'm not judging what I'm doing as I'm doing it as much, because that's, I think, the thing that kills it so much. People are afraid to engage with, I don't know if I'm going to draw this because it's going to look dumb, it's going to look stupid, these colors may not work, or that sound or movement, what if I move and I just kind of feel awkward and goofy and there's so much, I think, that holds us back. And when we can allow ourselves to be open and curious and risk, so to speak, stepping into that space, there's so much that we can find that's actually there waiting for us. So I love the way that you've talked about this, and that you provide opportunities for that. When it comes to specifically like sound frequencies and sound bath and those type of things, that's another area I think where people can, if there's not an understanding and there's not an openness or a curiosity, people can certainly come at it from the outside looking at it, kind of going like, I don't know, that's a little out there. That's not for me, or that's whatever. How do you help people understand that there's something more going on there, and that it's not simple? Don't just judge it by what you're seeing if you don't understand and you don't have some kind of educational piece in place. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So sound healing is definitely at least the bowls I'm working with. I know sound healing has been around for centuries and decades and in a plethora of different cultures. What we're working with, the bowls have only been around for about 25 years. So they are new, and it definitely, I think people can be like, I don't know. But I always love to say, and give this comparison of what is a song, or a song you really love that lights you up or that really makes you feel sad, or that reminds you of a specific memory or a person. It's the same when you look at these as instruments and you allow them to just be present in your body. The frequency and the vibration, I mean, that's science. We're all energy. Everything's always moving. That's science. And when you play these bowls, it's also energy. They're also frequency, they're vibration, and they're meeting your energy, your vibration, wherever you're at. And with that, it allows, maybe visuals, it allows memories to come up, it allows a feeling to awaken or to start to move a bit. It calms the nervous system because it is a specific frequency that allows your parasympathetic nervous system to click in, and then it allows that healing. So it's very similar to listening to your favorite song. It's just a bit more restorative, I would say, and you have to be receiving and present within it. But yeah, there's, my mentor that I work with, Geraldine Glass, she's working with scientists, she's working with doctors, with neuroscientists to really put research behind why sound healing and sound frequency can truly shift the energy inside the physical and the mental.
Yeah, I think it's great that there's so much of that that's happening where it's like almost like worlds are coming together, lines are getting a little more blurred, and to think about, if it's almost like speaking another language for somebody, right? Because if somebody needs convincing, they're like logic brain, and they're like, I don't know about this. To be able to give some facts and some stats around some things and some science around some things helps people understand that a little bit more, and maybe diffuses some of the arguments or some of the stiff arming that may be there initially, to go, at least let me be open, curious, let me see what I can experience for myself. And to be able to do that, I think, is important. And again, it comes back to almost like speaking the language of somebody, how they need to be spoken to, so that you can open the door. I wasn't even aware until more recently, because even some of my own dealings, and that I didn't necessarily have, I guess I wasn't necessarily in amongst people who knew much about this, nor did I have much interaction myself, but that certain frequencies actually have, I guess they're assigned certain types of topics or themes, or I don't know what the right words are, but I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, you have like the 440 hertz, 432 hertz, the 550. Yeah. Yeah, they all, there's so much to unpack there, because just what you said, I feel sound healing is helping me approach the world right now. I think in having, this openness that, can we all attune to one another, even if it's not the frequency in which we believe in? You know what I mean? Like, can we all have an openness to have conversations that maybe we don't necessarily understand or align with, but we can at least hear and be open and inviting, and then attune where needed. And I think sound healing, it's music, right? It's like, it helps us all to really get to that core of who we are. And like I said, it's, or I don't know if I said this yet, but it's not one size fits all, right? Because we're all energetic beings, and we're vibrating at different experiences. We're thinking different things, we're feeling different things. We're all not going to experience the vibration and the frequencies the same. So somebody might say, okay, I want to experience 440 hertz, and that's the connection to unconditional love. And, 528 is the healing of the earth. I might play those for you, and two people are going to experience completely different things. And I think that's the beauty of it too, is there can be that. It's important for us to have science and logic, and this is what it is. And then it's also important for us to say, okay, but how can I allow it to just receive in my own body, mind, and soul? And then how can we all, come together to say, oh, that's why you agree on that. And and like, how can
Right.
we create space for that, so that there's not this constant, you know, fighting or.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that too, because it's finding the common ground. It's finding
Yeah.
threads that you can pull on that say, you know what, even if this looks different for me than it does for you, there can be at least a mutual respect and understanding, a curiosity and openness. And I think if more people were willing to engage even in conversation like that, we would certainly see less of the polarizing things that are happening in our world today. I'm like, I know those are the conversations I want to be a part of. I'm not interested in polarizing. I'm not interested in stirring up controversy just for the sake of controversy, or even some people use that as a tactic for social media and whatnot. And I'm like, that's not what I'm interested in. I'm more interested in building bridges and finding common ground and having meaningful conversations around things. And again, even if I don't necessarily agree with somebody's perspective on something, at least I can understand and I can respect and ask for that in return. And I think that's a much more healthier place to be. And that when we get to do that in the context of art, whatever that looks like or sounds like, that is also, I think, a gift, because how often have we been the recipients of something that said to us, this is making you feel seen, heard, and understood? There's a song that I'm reading the lyrics, I'm singing these lyrics because I feel like it's expressing something that maybe I didn't even know how to express. And so this artist was able to do this almost on my behalf. And this song now becomes like an anthem or the healing agent that it needs to be to help me process and feel and move through some things. That's a tremendous gift to receive and then also be a part of to create. I would love to know, what are some of the things that you have happening now? What are some of the projects that you have that you're putting out there, and just things that you're finding interesting and that you're curious about?
Yeah, right now I really am finding a way to combine all of these art forms that I love as a offering. I'm combining movement with sound healing, with musicianship, songwriting, and also writing, journaling, finding ways to really create an offering where people can come together and feel all of those elements, because essentially that is mind, body, soul. Whether that be they're coming to a sound bath and we do journaling, we do movement, and experience a sound bath, or if that's a performance that they're coming to where they just simply get to show up and receive and see what it is to be embodied in movement, in sound, in truth telling through the songs that I'm writing. It's an exciting time. I feel that it's a big shift of I understand all of my relationships with all of the different art forms I have, and now how do I bring them all together? Yeah, it feels exciting. It feels big and like scary and new, but in a really good way that I know feels is so authentically aligned with who I am and what I truly believe I was put on this earth to do and share. So
Yeah,
big
that's
but not
amazing.
big.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no, totally. And what I hear in that is you're creating an experience. It's allowing space for somebody to come in, and whether it's to be, like you said, recipient of a performance or to be a participant in something that maybe they haven't done before, or that will somehow, hopefully, change them so that they leave that place different than when they came in. That in and of itself, I think, is something that people are yearning for, especially the more that everything's AI, everything is, there's that conversation that's over there. But the more that happens, the more content that gets churned out, the more all that stuff gets automated, the more important it is for people to have these human touches and experiences, and these places where authenticity and vulnerability are championed, and where things that can't be replicated and outsourced are invited in, and you can work on yourself, you can work on that alignment piece that you were talking about. And I love that, it made me smile when you said, these are all the pieces of me and the things that I've been doing that I love to do, and now there's kind of this alignment of bringing them together. And there's a clarity that happens when you realize, like, yes, like now it makes sense. I have all these pieces. As I look back, I can see seasons, I can see experiences, and sometimes there were like missteps and places where you're like, I don't really even know what that was about. But suddenly it's like the puzzle starts to come together, and you realize, oh, it's not these individual puzzles over here with these pieces, but there's actually, these are coming together to form one thing. There's clarity, there's alignment, there's purpose. And when you step into that, then you're empowered even more to be able to show up differently and help other people experience something on another level. So that is exciting. That is big. That is something to celebrate. So that's amazing.
Empower others as well. Like I know that that is a big part of my gift as well. So thank you for mirroring that back, because that is my wish, is for people to come experience this experience and leave feeling, I can really go for that thing, or I can have that conversation, or I can create that art, or I can finally step into my alignment. Like that is, yeah, with, With AI, yeah, using that as a tool as we will, but also I do think that within as we grow within it, it's going to be super important for all of us to stay grounded in our own expression, because no robot, and I will stand on 2 feet and say that, can ever recreate the art that you can recreate, I can recreate, anybody out there. Like, we have our own unique experience, and exactly everything that led us into even this present moment right now is exactly what was supposed to happen. And how can we use all of that as a guide to create what we need to create and inspire others to do the same? Because in the same talk of God and the universe and source, I truly believe our goal here is to continue to come back into alignment in our truth and continue to really become all that we are meant to be, and that we're always giving those and getting those clues and hints to become that. So how can we step into that, and then how can we empower others to do the same?
Yeah. It's an exciting thing when you realize that what you're doing isn't simply just about you, simply about making a living, but it is opportunity for impact and ripple effect. And when you're looking for how do I leverage the things that I've been through, the talents and abilities that I have, my passions, how do I leverage all that stuff so that I'm inviting somebody else into this and going, this is not about me and what I'm doing. This is actually about you and what you can step into and your purpose and your abilities and how you can change the world too. And the more people that we can get on board with that, I think the more people benefit. I say this all the time, and I say, when you create, we all win. Like, you win because you're the one who's showing up as you're created to be, doing these creative activities. And other people win because they're the recipients of what it is that you create. And so that's what's on the line. That's why I'm so passionate about, that's why I do this podcast and do all the things I do too, is because I want to see that happen. I want to be the advocate and cheerleader for people to experience creativity, not simply just so that they can feel good about themselves. That's a part of it, but there's a bigger reason and purpose and experience on the line. And I think helping people cross the line into that's tremendous, because we know what it's done to our lives, right? We know how our lives have changed when we've experienced that. And there's this understanding, and we can never go back, nor would we want
Yeah.
to help others cross that line, so to speak. I think is an important piece too, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I always say this to everyone around me, but I'm like, I just don't believe that we were put on this earth to like pay bills and be, autopilot and just, I mean, we're taught that. That's very ingrained in our society. And I have so much empathy for that. But I'm like, the more of us that step into this empowerment and say, like, no, 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 follow those pings, follow those things that just light you up and bring your soul on fire, even if you're not making a life out of it. It's like, follow it, find, like, there's always reasoning, and we're here to experience the beauty and the pain and the love and the light and the darkness of life. And I feel art is at the center of that, and for all of us, regardless of what that looks like individually.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I want to just say, it has been just such a pleasure speaking with you today. And your joy is evident in you smile with your whole face. You show up authentically. I appreciate that. And I also know that comes from a lived life and transformation, and having gone through some dark night of the souls, and just those things that help you become who you need to be for that next season. And so that's evident as you show up just as a person, even aside from the things that you create. So thank you for that. That is a gift. And I'm so glad we were able to connect like this today. As people have been listening, they've been probably going like, okay, I want to hear some of the music. I want to maybe find out more about the experiences that I can take part in. Like, where can people go to find more and follow?
Yeah, well, thank you for that. That's a very beautiful reflection, and I feel the very same. It's an honor to connect with people who are driving creativity and people to fully show up as themselves. So thank you for allowing this space for me to do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Reanna Shay on all platforms: Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. That's where I post most of my music and opportunities to come see me perform. I'm in Los Angeles, so that's where majority of my shows are. But obviously hoping to tour and travel more. And then I have Reawakened Journals is my community. So that's where a lot of my sound baths are posted, opportunities to come together, to journal, to be in community, to experience a sound bath. And yeah, I'm always open to conversations and opportunities to create and to collaborate and have meaningful connection.
Love it. Love it. So, and I'm encouraging everybody to make sure that they go and check out all the places that you've listed, to make sure that they engage and they really pay attention to what it is that you're doing, because I think it's important work, and there are invitations there for people to step into, so that maybe they have a transformative experience or something that where the light bulb goes off and like, oh, okay, this is helpful for me right now on my journey. Thank you again. Such a pleasure. Seriously. I absolutely love this conversation and love being able to speak with someone who just, there's that baseline understanding, again, of just, there's so much more for us to be and do and experience, and the clarity and alignment that comes when we show up like that. It's amazing. So thank you for that again.
Thank you.
I don't want to, but I have to go. I have to go. Please don't blame you. This is all my fault. We gave it all. Had to break our hearts to find my start. The pieces of my broken past came pouring out and never last. Once we're lost, we can't be found in someone else. I looked around, tried my hardest not to let you down. I didn't wanna hurt you. I never wanna say goodbye. Letting you go could haunt me for the rest of my life. I always look back, smiling at the beauty that was there. They say all is fair in love and war. Shame on me for wanting more. I thought we'd have a moment. Here's the hoping. Don't know if I'll ever know a love like you again. They say to love is to live. I think I've had enough of all of it. Baby, here's to me and you. Once we're lost, we can't be found in someone else. I looked around, two souls, scared of looking down. I didn't wanna hurt you. I never wanna say goodbye. Letting you go could haunt me for the rest of my life. Always look back, smiling at the beauty that was there. They say all is fair in love and war. Shame on me for wanting more.
Thanks for listening today. I'd appreciate it if you would subscribe, leave a rating and a review. It really helps this podcast be seen and heard by others.